All right. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Type a 2 in the chat if this is your very first time in the Freight Broker 101 training for beginners live Zoom training. Your very first time. Okay, Stephanie. Hello, Stephanie. Vaughn. Cherie, what's up? What's up, Cherie? Vaughn, Ashley, how are you, Cherie? I got to get down there and see her. I got to get to the ATL to see Cherie. Cherie's doing big things, guys. Cherie is, man, I want to walk in her. I want to walk in her footsteps. Nicole Rideout, welcome everyone. Welcome those who are new. We had a few people come over from the dispatching side or over to the freight broker side. And we had some individuals who signed up for the freight broker just to sign up to get the experience. So what is a freight broker, right? That's the thing. You signed up for this for a reason. So we will discuss that this evening. Freight broker, what does that mean? What does it mean to be a freight broker? Okay. What is that definition? What does that mean when you have that responsibility, when you are a broker of freight? Okay. We know what dispatching is, but what is a freight broker, right? So a freight broker is someone who arranges for the transportation and the movement of freight, okay? Loads, cargo, commodities, whatever you decide to do, whatever type of freight you decide to go with, you will be responsible for arranging for the movement of that commodity or of that shipment, as they call it in the transportation world, the shipment. So your job as a freight broker, well, the first thing you would do is to get your business set up, because those of you who are here for the first time and you may not have established your company yet as a freight brokerage. How many here have has not established their company yet as a freight broker, or haven't even applied for their broker authority? Okay, cool. So the first thing you would do is decide, of course, the name of your company, right? The name of your freight brokerage, right? So you can put the name like logistics or freight brokerage in the name. If you just plan on brokering freight and not doing anything else, like trucking, dispatching, transportation, anything like that, then the name freight, you can have the name freight broker or freight brokerage in your business name. But if you plan on scaling your business and doing other things like Cherie, warehousing, transloading, right? Taking freight from containers and breaking it down for separate types of shipments according to the pallets going across different LTL companies and being cross-docked and loaded onto other trucks going other places, warehousing, storage, transloading, cross-docking and things like that. Or if you plan on dispatching, if you plan on doing anything in addition to your brokerage, then you would probably want to have a name that doesn't just have brokerage in it, but something like logistics, right? So even something that comes down to the name of your company has some level of significance in what you are going to be doing going forward in the transportation industry, okay? So if you just plan on just brokering and that's all you want to do, then having the name brokerage is ideal. But if you plan on scaling, then come up with a name like logistics. So, okay. So that's that. So once you come up with a name, then you have to get a business entity set up, like a business license, EIN, business structure, whether it's going to be a sole proprietor, partnership, S Corp, C Corp, or in most cases, you guys like to do what's called an LLC, a limited liability company, right? You guys want to, because most people believe that that's the easiest way to get started. And in some cases it is, you know, LLC, limited liability company. That means that the liability is only on the company. If someone sues you, they can't come after you personally. They can come after you and your company, right? And there's other perks in addition to that. But when you form your name, that is, you want to keep those things in mind. You want to look up and define what the requirements are for the whatever legal structure you choose, LLC, sole proprietor, S Corp, C Corp, things of that nature, okay? So after you decide of a legal, and I would recommend Googling how to form a business in your particular state, like how to form a business in Georgia, how to form an LLC in Florida, whatever. Then you get the requirements from whatever governing body that you can, right? And that should be, it's a simple process. You just got to go through the steps. Every state has different types of requirements. Some may require articles of organizations or articles of corporation, or however that's, whatever that's termed in that particular state. It essentially means the same thing. It's just having the state's right to operate as a business in that domicile state, right? And you can do business all over. But you, since you reside in that particular state, you are going by the guidelines of that state. All right. So now, once you do that, now you have to decide to actually apply for your broker license, right? You need a license or an authority, a broker authority to operate as a freight broker. The definition of a freight broker is someone who arranges for the transportation of freight. How is that done? How do you arrange as a freight broker for the transportation of freight? The first thing you have to do is procure or get the freight from the customer or the shippers, okay? And that's done through a broker shipper kind of a contract or an agreement. Okay, that's the first thing. You get the freight, and then you arrange for the transportation and the movement of the freight through trucking companies or carriers or owner operators. Okay, that's the second step. So the first step is to arrange for the transportation of it by getting it from the shippers, and then the next step is to broker it to the carriers to move it. And you're the middle person, you're the middleman in that process. You arrange for the transportation and the movement of the freight. That's what a freight broker is. You are logistics providers. You provide the logistics of getting that freight picked up from a shipper and transported to a receiver through a motor carrier or an owner operator or a truck driver. So now there's steps, there's intermovable parts in that, but high level, that's essentially what you will be doing. But there are steps involved in it. There are steps involved in getting set up with shippers. There are steps involved in getting set up with carriers and then putting all that together. But even before all of that, you have to actually have the authority to do that. You have to, and the governing body that gives you the authority to be a freight broker is DOT and the FMCSA. FMCSA stands for the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. Okay, they are the governing body by which you go to their website and you fill out their form. It's called the OP-1 form to become a freight broker or to apply for a broker authority or a broker license. So let me go to our course here and log in. Okay, so this is the freight broker main menu in our course here on our site. And this is a self-paced course, right? This is the self-paced learning. You'll see all the resources and tools here on these buttons. These buttons take you to different pages according to the titles on the buttons. Everything you should need, everything that you need should be in here to get you started from a basic foundational level, right? So orientation, that's just saying, hey, welcome to Freight Broker 101 training for beginners. And we have like ebooks and things like that for you. Watch our video, go back to the main menu. Prerequisites. So what are the prerequisites to being a broker? Some of the stuff we just talked about, but there are some other things. Of course, if you get yourself involved in any type of business, not just brokering or warehousing or trucking or anything like that, you want to consider having some type of business plan, right? Just a standard business plan. You want to outline your course of action as a business, something to follow, an outline or a foundation for yourself in whatever business you are doing, not just freight brokering, right? And you know, with a typical business plan, it has certain components that you want to kind of overview with, like an executive summary. What's an overview of your business plan? And it's usually placed on the last page of the business plan. Company description, things like that. So you can just look up the business plan and the components of it. Your business name, we just discussed that, right? Your legal structure, we just discussed that, whether you want to be a sole proprietor, partnership, limited liability company, right? It defines that. So you decide which one you want to consider. And then your EIN number, right? Your employer identification number, that's for tax purposes. And it's also to attach your EIN number, this random number, this 9-digit number is going to be associated with your business for tax purposes, right? You create your structure, you create your business first, and then you go to the IRS website, www.irs.gov, and you apply for your employer identification number to receive, because they're going to ask you what type of business are you in, what's the name of the business, so that they can produce a random number, 9 digits, to associate with your business for tax purposes. Okay. And then you want to open up, obviously, your business bank account, and then other small things to consider as in your prerequisites to being a broker, or any business for that matter. Prerequisites. Okay.
Hello, Mr. Charles. I have a question.
Yes, Cherie.
Okay, so with the EIN number, if we already have like our company established, just say 123 Logistics Company, now we get ready to go and say 123 Brokerage Firm, we need to go out here and get another EIN number?
So the first company that's established, 123, what was the name of the first company?
123 Logistics Company, and then now we want to come back and get 1234, Brokerage.
Right. So what does 123 Logistics Company do? What is their operating agreement? What do they do? Do you do transportation?
Okay. Okay, so that's more like dispatching, that type of thing. And so if I'm coming up, if I'm gonna do my brokerage up on it, like I'll do a DBA like that, I still need to go ahead and get a separate EIN number for that.
I would recommend you, if you have one entity and it just does dispatching, and then you want to do a brokerage, I would recommend creating a separate entity for the broker and keep the dispatching and the brokerage separate. Okay. Just like if your first company that you just said, 123 Transportation or 123 Logistics, even if it was a trucking company or a carrier, right? If you had a carrier authority under that EIN, and then you want to create a brokerage, I would keep them separate for like tax and insurance purposes, right? And when you're trying to get things done, because they're going to see, even if you have an EIN, a DBA under your first company, the logistics, but you are a DBA under brokerage, it has the potential to get murky there. So if you keep them separate, then you keep everything in order and in control. Okay. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So that's some of the prerequisites, right? So now, what are the requirements of being a broker, right? And we have a little flow chart here, but the first thing, after you establish your business, the name of your company, and whatever legal structure you have, whether it was sole proprietor, partnership, S Corp, C Corp, LLC, whichever one you decided based off of your research and what you felt and determined was best fit for how you want your business to be, whatever structure you decided. After you've gotten all that set up and you have a business up and running, now you have to actually legally get a license, a broker license or a broker authority. The first step in doing that is to apply for that authority. And the form, you go to the FMCSA website. Let's go to there. fmcsa.dot.gov, okay? We'll just go to the main website. And I'm gonna copy that and put it in the chat if it pops up, because some reason it does. Sometimes it doesn't pop up, other times it does. Let me put that in the chat for everyone. And we put registration. Registration. So you go fmcsa.dot.gov, you can do /registration, or I want to go to the home page of the website so you guys can see how to navigate to the registration page from the home page. And that way you will have an idea of where to go, okay? From because the FMCSA, which stands for Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, in conjunction with DOT, the Department of Transportation, is the governing body that is responsible for, let me turn off I have some security features on web browsing, turn them off just to make sure that I can get to that site. Or let's do one better. Let's go out to Google. FMCSA portal. There we go. Portal.fmcsa www. So this is it right here. fmcsa.dot.gov. Can everybody see that? Yes, no, maybe?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we can see it.
All right. So I'm showing this to you from the very ground level, ground zero, right? So after you've established your company, got your business license in order and everything, and you want to become a broker, you have to apply for a broker license or what's called a broker authority. Where do you go for that? This website right here, fmcsa.dot.gov. When you get to this site right here, this page, step by step, literally, right? So registration, under registration, you're going to put apply for a new USD DOT number and or authority, okay? And you click that, right? It's going to take you to what's called the URS login page, Unified Registration System. You can either apply, and when you're coming here for the first time, obviously you are a new applicant, right? If you were here before and you was filling out the form, but you didn't get a chance to finish it, you are a returning applicant because you had created an email and a password or what have you, a login or what have you, right? So this is the URS system. This is where you go. And over here, you see this log out, the menu and all the other things. So I'm going to create a dummy account as if I want to do it. So, because I want you guys to actually literally see how it's done. And I do have on our website the actual form, the PDF form, the OP-1 form right here. There's so many sections on it, the 8 sections on the website, so you get a screenshot of what it looks like. But to actually see it online is beautiful, right? To see how it's filled out and things like that. So, so new applicant, we are a new applicant. So as soon as you click the new applicant, if you notice, it's saying next now. So hit next, right? And then you just read through the form, right? And now you just click that, you're at 9% complete. Everybody with me so far?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, so now we are scrolling down, you click next to proceed, click next. So now the URS, required information, here are the things and documents you will need in order to complete your application. Your EIN number or social, Dun and Bradstreet if it's available, And then company offers and titles. It's just telling you some of the prerequisites, some of the things you're going to need to proceed. But this is this is the literal registration, URS registration wizard that you will be filling out when you are applying for your broker license or broker authority, okay? Financial responsibility notice. For those applicants that are required to file financial responsibility, please ensure that evidence of financial responsibility is electronically filed with Fmcsa. Click next. Designation of process agent. This is a requirement of a broker. The designation of a process agent, the form that's used for that is called the BOC3, blanket of coverages, right? That's what the process agent companies, one company can have agents in every 50 states to be a process agent to serve paperwork in case of claims, right? It's required for brokers to have this on file prior to them receiving their broker license. They have to have a company representing them to accept paperwork when claims are forwarded against it. So someone files a claim against your broker, your bond, this process agent will be, a representative will serve you that paperwork saying, hey, somebody filed a claim against your bond, okay? So click next, it's just telling you issuance of your DOT number. When you first fill out this form, this registration form, you will receive a grant letter that has a number, a DOT and an MC number, but it won't be active. It just generated a number for you until you complete all the other requirements in order for your license to become active or your authority to become active, okay? That's what that means. So we click next. And then certifications are basically saying what structure you are, sole proprietor, partnership, corporation, whatever. Click next. And then URS application. A lot of the stuff you're just reading through right now, just make sure you understand it. Saying that you're complying with the laws, all your stuff is mandatory, so on and so forth. Now, here's the application. This is where you create your password. So I'm going to create a dummy email. I can only fill this out up to a certain point because at some point it's going to require me to pay that. So, oh yeah, I forgot to mention, when you do fill out this OP-1 form online, there is a one-time non-refundable $300 fee. It could be more depending on how many boxes you check in a certain section, like section 2, which is the type of authority you're applying for. So if you apply for multiple types of authority, like you can apply for a broker authority and a motor carrier authority. So if you check those boxes, it's $300 times that. So, okay. Now here, I'm gonna note this user number so we can reference it. And I'm probably going to create a dummy email, but we'll see. Create a password, right? Password value is required. So I'll just create a password, just a simple one, just to remember, because you're going to be doing the same thing when you go in here. Everything I'm showing you now, you're going to be doing when you file it online with the Fmcsa to get your broker license, right? So the requirements are your broker authority. That's number one, which is what we're doing now. You need a bond, you need a BOC3, you need a UCR, right? And in some cases, you may need insurance with your bond as a form of insurance, but you may need extra insurance with certain shippers because they may require, if you want to get their type of shipments, their type of freight commodities, they may require extra types of insurance like contingent cargo, errors and omissions and things. And we'll go into that a little bit later. I just want to give you the basic overview of the beginning processes of applying for your operating authority, okay? The first step is this is the first step after you established your business. This is the very next step that you would go. You need to apply for the operating authority, okay? And then right here it says, if the application is not completed and submitted within 30 days of creation, it will be discarded, okay? So you have 30 days. Once you start this process, in other words, you have 30 days to complete the URS application, right? This unified registration service, you know, this registration wizard, you have 30 days to complete it once you start it with your password and things like that. So let me create a password. I'll just create a standard one and confirm it. Oh, okay, it doesn't recognize special characters. At least 12 characters. So it needs to be at least, so here's the password requirements. Password must be at least 12 characters long and contain at least one number, lowercase, uppercase, and special characters. So at least 12. So that's what? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right. So I put something in there. And then I could easily copy this and paste it, and it doesn't let me copy. So I'm going to have to recreate it. So 1, 2, all right, so there we go. And notice we're at 13% completion, right? Now, security questions. So this is dealing with the login because somebody may try to hack and log in under your login. You know, it happens. I just had one of my accounts hacked. Well, 2 of them actually. So security questions. You can select the questions. What's your high school mascot? Mine was a bulldog, okay? Second security question. Favorite vegetable. What is my least favorite vegetable? I don't want to choose that one. First car. My first car was a Buick. And last one. What city was I born in? I was born in Detroit. So, right, easier stuff to remember, right? And you hit next, okay? 18% complete. Application contact. FMCSA would like to collect contact information for the person or persons completing or assisting with the completion of the application. This person may be an employee, officer, or other authorized person at the applicant's place of business or someone hired as a consultant or agent to act on behalf of the applicant. So right now, we are the applicant. The person who's doing this, filling this out, you, me, or someone representing your company, an agent or an applicant, right? This person should be authorized to have the necessary information to answer questions about this application should questions arise. Okay, so hopefully you guys understand. Do I need to explain that part again? It's just saying either you or someone representing you need to have everything they need in order to answer all the rest of the questions going forward in this application process. Okay, you guys got that?
Yes.
Okay, good. So
Yes,
you
we
hit
do.
next. Okay, so you hit next. So now, so let's make up a name, right? We're gonna make up a name. Contact person's contact type. So company, so I'm the applicant representative or company contact. I'll call myself the applicant representative. Okay. And well, let's just make up a name. I'll just make up a name. I want to make it up just to show you. We'll just say John Doe. It's probably going to flag it if it says John Doe because that's a common fake name that people use, right? So we'll just say John Q taxpayer or something, right? John Q taxpayer, right? And I want to notate that. So, because I may forget it, right? Suffix, Mr. or Junior, anything like that. So I'll just leave that blank. So whenever you see the end of these lines here, and if it's red, that means that's a required field and data must go in it, okay? If you don't see that, then it, or sometimes it doesn't show it, and when you hit next, it won't allow you to go next, and it'll scroll back up to the place that you should have put some information in. So that's just something to be mindful of. So let's do that. Let's practice that for a second. Let's leave some of these blanks just to see what that would do. Applicant title, we'll just say agent, okay? Because I call myself the applicant. I'm the representative of the applicant. I'm not the actual broker or the person who's going to be the broker. I am a representative of that broker, maybe an agent, a broker agent, right? Maybe I'm the husband of the wife who's maybe my wife's going to be a broker, but I'm filling out the application for her because I want to work under her. So I'm the agent of my wife's brokerage, right? That could be a case with you guys, right? So scroll back. Applicant contact country, US, address, We'll just put, let's go to that. Let's click that to highlight it. So let's go here and 47. Let's just put an old address that I used to stay at. Street, all right. City, contact city, automatically set from a postal code. I can put the code, let me see if I can put the code in, it'll pop in. See if that works. It doesn't, so I'm gonna put the city, right? And then the state, of course, it's Virginia. Put a V, nope. Let's go here and select Virginia. I'm in Virginia. Right there, all right? Postal code, there's the postal code. There. All right, so we're still at 18% complete, right? Phone number, United States, 757 2906. All right, and then everything else, I don't have a fax line, the cell number could be, I'm just gonna leave the regular phone number, that's the cell number, but I could have put it here in the cell place, but I'll just leave that blank. Email, what email do I use? I can make up an email. I think my email already it's in the system as being someone who already applied for it. So I'm gonna put another email in there. I'll put my business email in there and see if that flags it. Because if it's already in the system, it's gonna flag it. Okay, it's gonna say this already exists. Go ahead and log in with the login for that's associated with that email, right? So that system is sophisticated enough, just like any other system online. If it's already an email that's flagged as already being used, it will let you know to log in with the password that's associated with the email. Okay, so I'm going to put Exodus at this info at Exodus dispatching and training .com, and I don't know if it's going to let me copy it or paste it. I should say I don't know if it's going to let me paste it, and it did. Okay, cool. Preferred contact method, how you want to be contacted, phone or email, or both. I'll just say both. Well, I'll say email. Now you hit next. So I hit next to see what happened. Okay, so.
Charles.
Yes.
I had a question about now when it asks for like application, when it asks for like fax number and business number, do you need to fill that stuff up in?
You can if you have a fax and business number. I just didn't put it in there for sake of time.
Yeah, I got you. Okay.
Yeah, but if you establish your business and you have a fax line and everything already associated with it, then more than likely you can. Let's say, for example, you forgot to do that. You can always go back in there and edit that and put it in there. Because when you get to the end of this application prior to paying the $300 and submitting it, it's going to review it and it's going to give you a chance to edit anything that you may have you want to change or you want to add to.
Okay. All right. Okay. That's fine.
So I'm not going to say this, no thanks. So I'm going to hit next, business description. So let's hit next. Okay, does the applicant have a Dun & Bradstreet number? No. You can have a DMB number, but I'm going to say no for the sake of, because I don't have one right now. But if I did, I would say yes and put that Dun & Bradstreet number in there. Okay. So, and for those of you who don't know, anything you don't know, use your best friend to look it up. What is a Dun & Bradstreet number, right? So Dun & Bradstreet number is a unique 9-digit identifier for businesses. It helps identify you as a business because they can refer to your DMB number and it'll put up the data, all the business data for your company based off of your number. Just like your social security number pulls up all the personal data for you, right? That's what DMB does, right? This number is assigned once our patent identity resolution process part of so blah, 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 right? So that is what is a DMB number, okay? So let's finish the process. So let's just say I don't have a DMB number. I actually don't for this because this is a fake login. I just want to show you the process of applying, okay? Legal business names.
Charles,
Yes.
I have a question.
Okay.
With a Dun & Brad's number, if we have one, because we have an entity already established, a business already established, right? Like I have a business, an LLC established under my name, Monique R. Wilson, but I was thinking about filing a DBA for the trucking, right? Or for the logistics for this. So would I still use that same DNB number if
you do a DBA to put your brokerage under the entity of the one that you have the Dun & Bradstreet's number in, then yes, you can associate that Dunn's number with your brokerage because you had connected your brokerage with the same entity of the company. But if you're going to separate them, you're going to have a separate entity for one and the other, then you got to get another Dunn's number.
Okay.
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 Is it better to have a Dunn's number with established business credit before applying for a brokerage? It's ideal, but that shouldn't stop you because you can still build business credit even after establishing a brokerage. But that's a good point, Stephanie. It's ideal. Okay. So what legal name we can call ourselves? Let's just say, I'm gonna put, do we put freight brokerage? So remember the legal name we call ourselves, anything freight brokerage, but are we gonna be a freight brokerage? Or are we gonna do anything else? Are we gonna be logistics? We can say logistics, we can say freight brokerage or logistics, depending on the philosophy of our company. Are we only gonna be a brokerage? Or are we gonna be an asset-based brokerage with a trucking side? We're gonna have dispatching involved in it as well. What are some of the things that we want to have in the name to consider? I'm gonna put ABC or XYZ, whatever, but I'm just telling you, when you get to this point, you wanna be mindful of what you say right here. Bridget said, I have brokerage and want to do dispatching. Do I need to get a new DMV? So you have a brokerage, you want to put, Bridget, are you putting your dispatching under the entity of your brokerage? In other words, are you doing a DBA under your brokerage, which I don't recommend, but you know, I would do it separate, to be honest with you, because to be no confusion, right? You don't want to mix the two. But so what legal name? We're gonna say, I'm gonna write it down, but ABC. So we can either put ABC or whatever you want to call yourself, either freight brokerage or ABC logistics or whatever you want to call yourself, right? Or ABC freight brokerage and logistics or whatever, right? I just want to tell you that you choose your name according to the philosophy and what your business is going to be doing, right? So, and I just threw it in there just to say it, right? So just to have it in there, freight brokerage and logistics, okay? And then we're going to say next. So whatever name you choose, you're going to put the legal name here, all right? And then you go next, right? With 22% complete, right? Doing business as name if different from the business legal name? No, because I don't have a DBA under the brokerage. I'm just forming the brokerage right now. So I don't have a ABC freight brokerage and logistics doing business as ABC dispatching or ABC trucking or ABC transportation. It's just, I'm just forming a freight brokerage right now. I'm a new person who's forming a brokerage, and some of you may fall up under this category. I'm just a person forming a freight brokerage. I'm not doing anything else. I don't have a DBA, which is an alias under, when you do a DBA under a name, that DBA is an alias of the parent name. It's still under the same entity or the same, when I say entity, I'm meaning the same EIN number is attached to the DBA as well as the parent name, okay? So I'm gonna say next, I'm gonna leave this blank. I don't have a DBA under this brokerage. If you did, you can just type it here, okay? But I'm gonna say next, all right? Is the applicant's principal place of business address the same as the applicant's contact address? In other words, are you doing business out of your home or do you have a brick and mortar, right? Do you have your own office space? Let's say we're working out of our home, right? So what would you say here? If you were working out of your home, what would be the answer to this question?
Yes.
Yes, there you go. Yes. You said it like you wasn't sure. You're like, yes.
No, because I was actually a week ago going through this. I actually had a problem with this because when I put in my legal business name and then I got to this question and I said no to it, and then when I typed in my home address, it like wouldn't do nothing. It wouldn't let me go on.
Because you said no.
Okay.
In other words, you said no, that your business is not going to be the same as your home address, but then you typed your home address when it asked you for an address.
Yeah.
So that's why. That's
Okay.
why.
Okay.
You should have typed a different address. You should have typed the address of your office, either your virtual office, or you may have a physical brick and mortar other than your home address. When you say no,
Yeah, I did my virtual address as my business address, but when
Okay.
it got to this question and about doing business, the same as your application contact address,
okay,
I put in a different address. I put in my home address, and somehow it didn't let me move on. So I had to go back and use my business address, the same as my mailing address.
okay, that's kind of weird.
Yeah, because I don't know what happened. Mhm.
It must not work with the virtual. I'm not sure if it doesn't work with the virtual or not. I think it does, because the virtual address is just numbers and letters. It's using your physical address. It's just putting in front of the virtual address. The virtual address is forwarded in front, but your home address is behind that, like on the back.
Actually, you know what, Charles? Yeah, this one was no. I think it's when you go to the next one, I had problem with, because this would be my, it would be no, and then you put in your business address, right?
Okay, so is the applicant's principal place of business, where you're going to be mainly doing your business, the same as the applicant's contacts address?
No, that was no. That's no.
The application contacts. So read the question, right? Is the applicant's principal place of business address the same as the application contacts address? So I'm the application contact. I'm the representative. So when I call myself the application representative. So my contact address was 47 King George Quay. So is the principal place of business the same as 47 King George Quay? I said no. So if I said no, then they're going to say, well, what is the address? They're going to ask the next question. Okay, well, what's the address now? Where is the principal place of business? Okay, you understand that now? And PO boxes are not accepted, right? So Bluebird, got your hand raised. Bluebeard, I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. That's okay. Yes, sir. I just have a quick question about the name, right? So if you have a dispatching company and you name it 123 Logistics, and you also want to do freight agent, and so you should start another business, and that should be a different name, right? So I named it Logistics because of the very reason you're saying, thinking of how I wanted to scale the business.
Correct. But
if
you are a freight agent, you are operating as an independent contractor under the authority of a freight broker.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's what I would like to do.
Okay, so you want to so yeah, you still want to keep it separate, because I'm assuming you're operating under the authority of a broker just to get the experience, and then at some point you want to form your own brokerage.
Possibly. Unless I like just working under theirs and unless
you like the numbers and you don't want to take on that responsibility of having to pay for the bond and all that other stuff, and you're still making decent money, decent money. Okay. Yeah. I will still keep them separate.
Okay. All right. So then it will be 123 Logistics and 123 Freight, or Freight Broker, or whatever, right?
Or whatever you call it.
Freight. Gotcha.
Yeah, whatever you call it. Yeah, 123 Enterprises or something, right?
Thank you.
All right. Monique.
Okay, yes. Okay, so if you wanted to not have, because what I don't want is my home address listed, right? So would I be able to just do the whole application in both places, as far as contact information and principal place of business? Would I be able to use my virtual address for both?
I don't think so. Well, you can if you said yes to the first question. So if you go back, in previous, and if you said yes to this, so let's test that theory. Is the applicant's place of business the same as the application contacts address? And you say yes. If you do that, it's probably not going to ask you for any information if you say yes to that, right? So now it automatically put the address, the place of business address, it automatically populated it. If you notice in here now, it's not asking for a place of business because you said yes to that question. It's the same as the applicant's contact. So you're doing business out of your home or whatever, or your virtual, this could be let's say this is a virtual address. right? And
Yeah, because I'll still be doing the business out of my home, but I just don't want that address to be public information.
correct. And you'll just have a virtual address, and you put the virtual address, which is like having a call forwarding number that routes to your real number. The call forwarding number is like the virtual number. The same thing with the address. The virtual address is like the virtual forwarding, the forwarding address, if you will, right? So
correct. Okay, so yeah, so I could just use that address as the contact as well as the
and the mailing address. You can say mailing address too now. You can say same as the principal place of business.
Yeah.
Right.
Because
now you can have all your mail come to your virtual address. Let's say you have an office building that you have a virtual address. They have a mail room there. So when you go there to get your mail, you just pick it up from the secretary or whatever, right? So
So unless they ask for a home address, I don't have to put my home address. Okay.
Well, they may not ask you for a home address. You may just put your home address as the principal place of business.
Okay.
Okay. So Stephanie said, I applied for the DUNS number and was denied because my virtual address. So I had to change it to update my residence so that I had to apply for DUNS number. So yeah, so maybe the DMB number don't accept virtual, but maybe the application for a freight brokerage may accept it. So we're going to go through this process. We're going to say this is the same as the mailing. So the mailing address and the principal place of business address is the same. So we went back and said, yes, it's the same. Right? We didn't say no, because if we would have said no, it would have asked you, what's your principal place of business then? If it's not the same as the application contact address, then what is it? That's all they want to know that, right? Before moving forward. So now we get all that filled in. So let's hit next. So remember, we're still applying for a broker authority, right? Now the business description, principal place of business phone number. I'm going to put the same number as I did before, right? And I thought I typed in 757. There we go. And I'm going to put the number there. All right. And I'm going to leave. If you have a fax number, you can put it there, but for sake of time, I'm just filling this out for you. And if you have a cell number, business cell number, this is a cell number, so it could be the same number as the business. The principal place of business telephone number can be the same as the principal place of business cell number. Obviously, the fax number is going to be different because it's a fax number, unless you have a voice over IP system, which is VoIP, where you split the 4 lines into two for internet and 2 for phone. Then you may be able to use your phone line and your fax line on the same wire. Okay, that's how VoIP works. Okay, and then you hit next. So now we put an EIN number, right? Employer identification number. So this is where you put in, remember, you got to create your business first and get an EIN number attached to your business before you apply for your operating authority. So now they want to know what that is. You can either put the EIN or the social, okay, in here. So if I put one in here, I wonder if it's going to work, because I don't want to put a real one in here, because I'm not literally applying for it. I'm just filling this out as an example for you guys. So employee identification number or social instead of EIN number. So note, it says here too, note, sole proprietor, owner operators who do not have an EIN number may submit their social instead of the EIN number, but are encouraged to obtain the EIN number rather than using the social to register for a USDOT number. So you have to have an EIN number associated with that. I may use mine, even though I'm not applying for it. I forgot what mine was. Oh. So, if anyone, JC just put it here, if anyone needs a virtual office, here's a link. My affiliate didn't want to post it without telling you. Okay, he put a virtual office link up here. JC did that. So if anyone's considering a virtual link, let me click that and put that up here. And I'm glad you checked with me first, so that's good. That's cool. Regis is a good one, but we can put yours up here too for your affiliate link, so you can get credit for that. understand how business works, right? So let's put your link there, JC. That's JC's link. Anyone wants to consider virtual office, check out JC's link for virtual office consideration. And you may want to ask those types of questions when you do get virtual office. Ask them, hey, I'm going to be applying for certain things. Is using a virtual address just the same as using a physical address? And then see what they say, so on and so forth. Ask those tough questions from different, always ask the tough questions when you are getting into business. With any
I used to, all I did was just type in virtual office where I live. And actually the one you just, I think Alliance is the one I actually have. Yeah, it came right up. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then I was looking at Regis when I was doing the physical and virtual office on my side. So, so yeah, just see what the options are when you do apply for a virtual office. See what the benefits of having a virtual office as opposed to not having one, right? And then go from there. Ask those questions. Why do I need a virtual office? What's the purpose of it, right? And how will it benefit me as a business? Is it going to shield my real address when I'm applying for certain things that's business related? These are the types of questions you want to ask when you are considering.
Charles, like when you're dealing, say, like with a shipper or you're trying to get the business, you know, they might want to look up and see exactly what that address looks like. Is that
right?
how
So
it
when they look it up, they will see a physical building as if it's like a commercial building. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's okay. They'll see that you have a business, an edifice or a brick and mortar.
Yeah, brick and mortar.
You may not even, and you just renting or leasing space in there virtually. But they don't know that. They just see the address. They'll look it up on Google Earth or whatever, and check out the address, and that'll be enough for them, right?
Yeah, so, better than seeing it, and then looking it up and say, "Oh, that's a house," Yeah.
Right. If they look it up and see it's a house, they'll be like, "Okay, you're not that serious." Right?
Exactly.
So you're working out of your house. So maybe it is. That's a great point you made, Perry. So maybe you probably do need a virtual address to a building, a commercial building in front of your real address to kind of ward off that possibility of a shipper not wanting to work with you, because they see that they'll see your address and think that you're not serious because it's your house. Right?
Exactly, because I think they see the virtual address, and because it actually give you the virtual address with the picture of the office building, so that looks good, if you're trying to get contract.
Correct. So, all right. So let's see why it didn't accept my EIN number. I know why. I'm an idiot. There we go. I actually put my real EIN number in there, but I'm not going to finish this application. But just for the sake of showing you guys how to fill it out, when you're doing a business, when you're applying for your authority or anything like that, and you have a business created, it's best to use your EIN number as opposed to your personal social security number. You never want to put your personal social, which identifies you as the human being, the physical person, on business forms, right? You want to use your social that represents your business, which is your EIN number, correct? Your EIN number is the social for your business. Your social security number is the social or identifier for you, the human being, the person, right? You guys understand that? All right, so let's hit next. Now, is the applicant a unit of government? And then if you don't know what certain things are, you just hover your mouse over the blue link and it defines what that is. Any department or agency of the federal government, any state or agency office or department of a state. So basically we're not a unit of government, right? So we're gonna say no to that. But if in case you didn't know what it was, you just put your mouse over it and then you can read what that means to get yourself a better answer. So we're not part of the government. Business description. Most people are going to put LLC, right? Limited liability company, right? Some people may put corporation, right? So it depends on what you, and then what state are you incorporated in? We can say, I'll say Virginia. LLC, limited liability, where's your LLC located? Okay, well, it's your domicile state of your LLC. I'm gonna say Virginia, okay? When you select that, you gotta put where your LLC was established, okay? So, and we'll put next, all right? If there's any confusion along this process, raise your hand and let me know, okay? Ownership and control, business description, ownership and control. Okay, you own it. So you're forming your own brokerage. I own it and controlled by a citizen of the United States. So that's the first option. You can own it and control it if you live in Canada, Mexico, or any foreign country. In most cases, since we're all US based, we're gonna say the first option. We own it and we control 100% of it, and we are a US citizen of the United States. I'm gonna click next, all right? We're still at 22%, okay? Business description, names and titles of the sole proprietor and other stuff, right? So you wanna fill this out too, right? So what name did I put? Company contact, I'll just put company contact first. I'll put company contact number 1, the same person I put John Q, taxpayer, right? Now this could be another person, names and titles of the sole proprietor, partners, or others, but I'm gonna put the same person to see what kind of message that, and we'll put title, we'll just say CEO, and we will put email. I can't remember what email did I use. Did I use my email? I used info, did I not? Info at Exodus Dispatching and Training?
Now that's if
Yes.
someone else, if someone else is doing your paperwork, or that would be just your information.
It will be your information. If you are the same person, if you are the owner and the same person who's going to be acting as a contact person, that will go here.
Oh, okay.
See, company contact. So the company contact number 1 can be you, the owner. If you're starting a brokerage by yourself, then obviously you're going to be the owner and you're going to be the contact person because it's just you. You haven't hired anyone to work with you yet or any agents, right? So, and then the cell number, United States, and I'll just put the same information here just for the sake of, what number did I put? Okay, just to have it here, okay? And I'll hit next, just to move on, right? Company contact address. So if I'm the only person, I'm the company contact person. I'm the CEO and the company contact. Unless you have an agent or a partner, then you put their information in there as a contact. But right now, if I'm the only person again, then it's just me, right? Just like you guys, it'll be just you at this point, right? For the sake of filling this out initially, then later on you can go back and call the FMCSA. Hey, say you've already got your broker license and everything. You say I want to update my information on my with the FMCSA, and then you can change that, right? So, I'm going to put the information that I put in here before, just for the sake of uniformity, consistency. Okay, I'm just literally showing you guys when you go, because you actually will be doing this when you fill out, unless you hire someone to do it for you. But why would you do that? Because they're just going to do this, the same thing that we're doing, and charge you a boatload of money to do it. Why would you do that when you could do it for yourself for free, right? So why accept failure when success is free? So now, remember I said you can go back and change and edit stuff. Here's an example of that. You can go back, it'll, before it moves on to another section, it'll show you what you put there and give you an opportunity to edit and update it, okay? And then we're gonna hit next. So we were in the business description section. So we hit next. So now it moved to 27%, okay? So now, operation classification. So what are you operating as? You're applying for a broker. So right here, FMCSA needs to capture details regarding the applicant's planned operation. Well, here are the defining things: IEP, intermodal equipment provider, a motor carrier of property, a motor carrier of passengers, a motor carrier of household goods, a broker, freight forwarder, or a cargo tank facility. So which one of these, if we are in the Freight Broker 101 training for beginners class, which one of these are you thinking about considering? Right? Which one? This is an easy question. Which one?
The broker.
The broker. There you go. I took a screenshot of that. I just want to put that on there and out the way for a second. So it just showed you this. Let's click next. But the broker, and here's the definition or the carrier operations description: a company or person who arranges or offers to arrange for the transportation of property by an authorized carrier. Note, brokers do not assume responsibility of the cargo. So that's the definition of a broker. You arrange for the transportation of the freight or the property by giving it to an authorized carrier. Okay, you get it from the shippers and you arrange for it to be transported by authorized carriers. So we're going to hit next. That's our definition of a broker. So now, here we go. Now it's going to go through each one. Will the applicant operate as an intermodal equipment provider? What is an intermodal equipment provider? That's like a dredge carrier, someone who goes to the ports, chassis and stuff like that, right? So, right, and it says it right here. Intermodal equipment means trailing equipment that transport containers and consists mainly of chassis, but may also contain trailers, right? That's what an IEP is. We're going to say, no, we're not doing that, right? So we go to the next one. Will the applicant transport property? No, I'm not transporting property. I'm a broker. I'm arranging for the transportation of property. So some people may get tricked up here because you're a broker and you're a broker of property, but you're not transporting. Remember, you are arranging for the transportation of property. If you're transporting property, that means you are a carrier, right? So some people get tricked up right here, okay? So no, I'm not transporting it. I'm brokering it. Will the applicant transport any passengers? No, I'm not. I'm not a passenger carrier authority. I'm not a property carrier authority, right? So I'm saying no. Will the applicant provide property? So here's a trick. Here's another trick up one. Will the applicant provide property or household goods broker authority? Yes, I will. Yes, because there are two types of broker authority. There's a broker of property or a broker of household goods. And the definition is right there. An entity that arranges for the interstate transportation of cargo belonging to others using for hire motor carriers subject to the commercial registration requirements to provide the actual transportation. So yes, I'm arranging for carriers. So yes, I'm going to say yes to that. I will be, and I'm going to be specifically of property, but it said either or, right? Will the applicant provide property or household goods broker services? Yes, I will. I will provide property broker services. So I said yes, and then I click next. What type of services will the applicant provide? Well, here we go. General freight or household goods. Which one do you think?
General freight.
General freight. Because household goods means you're brokering to carriers who are going to go into people's homes and pack up or move already packed goods and put them into moving trailers like Mayflower, Atlas, Covan, these large moving companies for like military families. They put them in large crates and move. So you're not doing that. You're doing general freight, all right? So we're going to click next. So is this helpful, guys, that you guys are seeing this? Just want to make sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So now, will the applicant provide freight forwarder services? Well, what the heck is a freight forwarder, right? Well, let's go by the definition. A freight forwarder is an entity that acts as a link between a shipper and the final point of distribution. So they consolidate shipper freight and sends them like overseas or things like that. Or they can do, you can do domestic or international freight forwarding services. And a large freight forwarding company, for example, let's Google one that I used to work with when I was driving, Forward Air. Forward Air is a large, in this country, a large freight forwarding company, Forward Air. Okay. They are a freight forwarding company. They consolidate shipments from shippers and ship them all over the country. We are not doing that. We are brokers. So I just want you to see an example of a freight forwarding company, and I'll put their link in the chat. Okay. So go back to our registration. So we're going to say what to that? We're going to say no, we're not, right? So a freight forwarder is not a motor carrier who hauls general freight for compensation. There we go. Will the applicant operate a cargo tank facility? No. And you can see what a cargo tank facility is, it'll define it. But no, just for the sake of time, we'll say no to that. Will the applicant operate as a driveway or a towaway? No. Okay. And you see the definition of that. Empty, an operation in which an empty or unladen motor vehicle with one or more sets of wheels on the surface of the road is transported, like a towing truck, basically, towaways. Okay, so we'll say no. In this case, towaways, driveaways. Look, you can see the image, a tow truck, right? No, we're not operating as a towaway. We're not operating as a drive out or driveaway. So now you get into the specific classifications of what you're going to be transporting or arranging to transport as a broker. Here's where people limit themselves. You know, most individuals who become broker, they just select general freight. Well, what if you get a shipper that has steel, coils, things like that, metals, rebar, things like that? Then you can put that in there. You could, even if you don't put this here, you can go back and add it, but to understand what it is in the beginning would be helpful. You can just select it right there. Building materials goes on flatbeds, logs, beams, lumber, flatbeds, metal, sheets, coil, rolls, rods, flatbeds, right? Intermodal containers would not, you can broker that, but we'll skip over that for now. Liquids and gases, that requires endorsements, tankers and stuff like that. Fresh produce, you can select that because you can broker that with refrigerated carriers. We have refrigerated freight, okay? Do that. Machinery, large objects, you can do like oversized things. You can consider that or not. Passengers, no. Oil field, livestock, grain, hay, you can say that. U.S. mail, meats, refrigerated, okay? Dry bulk, refrigerated food, beverages, right? And then paper products, dry vans. If you put others, it's going to ask for more. But the more you put, then the broader or the more specific that you can say that you're going to be operating with, right? But for the sake of time, people just put general freight and move on, and then they'll get shippers with other types of commodities that goes on dry van trailers, flatbed trailers, refrigerated trailers, okay? So we'll hit next there. Okay, 27%. It just showed that what we selected. Next. Now look, it went from 27% all the way up to 72%. Look at that jump, right? So now, FMCSA determined that the applicant will operate property broker general freight. The company's estimated financial responsibility minimum for a surety bond or a trust fund is $75,000. Next, right? Affiliation with others. FMCSA needs to capture some details regarding the entity's relationship with any other FMCSA regulated entity. They're just saying if you were associated with somebody else in order to determine whether they want to continue in this process. Okay, hit next. At some point, I'm going to have to stop here because there's some point I can't go beyond because I'm not literally applying for this. I'm just showing you the steps involved in it, okay? Just so you guys know, okay? We're at 77%. But for the most part, you get the gist of the difficult areas that we went through, right? So affiliation with others. Does the applicant currently have or has had within the last 3 years of date of filing this application. So 3 years of this date, which is May 10th, 2022. So that would be what? May 10th, 2019. Any relationships involving common stock, common ownership, common management, common control, or familial relationships, or any other person applicant for registration. No, I don't. I don't have any affiliations in the last 3 years. No, right? And then I said no, so now I'm gonna hit next. So it went from 77 to 86%. This is the certification statement, basically saying I certify that everything I said was true to the best of my ability, or I'm guilty of perjury, right? So this certification applies to the responses provided by the application, by the applicant, to this application by the applicant. You must certify to the truthfulness of statements in this application under penalty of perjury. I just said that, right? So you hit next, and then you just basically certify, you're still at 86%. So I'm gonna say John Q, taxpayer, right? And certify e-signature. The e-signature is the applicant's password, which I put here. And in the title, I'll just put CEO. And then hit next. All right, invalid password. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to put the last, there we go. There. Now, compliance certifications. Yeah, make sure in the process as you're going through the application, there's certain things you need to write down because it's going to reference it for you later on, so you'll have it, like your emails, your username, your password, stuff like that, right? So by signing these certifications, the certifying official is on notice that the representations made herein are subject to verification through inspections in the United States and through the request for examination of records and documents, okay? Failure to submit the representations contained in this application could form the basis of a proceeding to assess civil penalties and or lead to revocation of the registration granted. So if they go through this application and find something that wasn't valid, they'll just revoke it. It won't finish the process. But that's after you pay the $300. They want to get your money first because remember, it's non-refundable, right? So, but just so you know, this is just information. Knowledge is power, right? So hit next. And now it goes, you just say, I certify that everything I just said, right? So does the applicant certify it is willing and able to provide the proposed operations or service and to comply with all pertinent statutory and regulatory requirements and regulations issued or administered by the U.S. Department of Transportation, including operational regulations, safety fitness requirements, motor safety standards, and minimum financial responsibility and designation of process agent requirements. Do you certify that you can do all that? Yes, I can. And then hit next, right? Now you're at 90%. You're almost done with the application process. Literally, the reason why it's taking a little longer because I'm basically showing you step by step, but you would get through this a little bit quicker. I would say, I don't know, 30 minutes to an hour, right? So here's the next one. Does the applicant certify it is willing and able to produce for review or inspection documents which are requested for the purpose of determining compliance with applicable statutes and regulations administered by the Department of Transportation, including the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Regulations, the Federal Motor Vehicle Safety Standards, commercial regulations, hazardous material regulations if you applied under the hazardous materials, and America with Disabilities Act regulations within 48 hours. You got to produce these within 48 hours of any written request. So if they request these, you got to produce them within 48 hours, right? Applicant understands that the written request for documents may be served on the contact person identified in the company contact section of this application or designation process agent. I certify, blah, 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 right? You want to make sure you understand what that, right? So does the applicant certify it is not currently disqualified from operating commercial motor vehicles. Yes, I do certify that I'm not disqualified. I'm not qualified either, but I'm not disqualified from operating commercial motor vehicles. Okay. And then 90%. Does the applicant certify it understands that the agent or agents for service of process designation, the BOC3, will be deemed the applicant's official representative in the United States for receiving filings or notices in administrative proceedings under 49 U.S. Code section 13303, and for receipt of filings and notices issued in connection with the enforcement of any federal statutes and regulations. In other words, they're saying, do you certify that your BOC representative is going to be the person representing you in any of the proceedings according to Title 49 of the U.S. Code, Section 13303? Yes, I do. I certify that because I hired them when I did the BOC3. So yes, okay. Does the applicant certify that the carrier is not prohibited from filing this application because its FMCSA registration is currently under suspension or was revoked less than 30 days before filing the application? Yes, I certify. No carrier has a suspension or revocation of their authority. Okay, 90% still. If the applicant's registration is currently revoked, does the applicant certify the deficiencies cited in the revocation proceeding have been corrected? In other words, if you had a previous revocation of your authority, have you rectified that? Have you solved the deficiencies? Yes, I'll just say yes. But if you haven't had a revoke, you still say yes because you've never had anything revoked. So you say yes and certify. And then the applicant's signature is your password. So, all right. And then you hit next. And it goes from, and then you hit next again. It's just basically giving you a summary of what all you said. You hit next. And now it went from 90 to 95%. Now here's the oath, basically saying everything is true. Proof of power of attorney, blah, 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 to upload. FMCSA requires the owner or the authorized signer or an individual with power of attorney to act on behalf of the applicant. Proof of power of attorney must be uploaded and submitted with the application if there is a power of attorney involved. To sign the applicant's oath certifying that all information supplied in this application or relating to this application is true and correct. Next. Okay. And then you go through the process again. John, in this case, John Q. Taxpayer, right? That's what I put. Or whatever name that you put, right? John Q. Taxpayer. And the e-signature is going to be the password. Title, CEO. Or you can put owner, right? Whatever, owner, CEO, same difference, right? 99%. Now, register for company official FMCSA portal account. I'm not going to do that because that's where I'm going to have to pay, right? This is where, so it allowed me to go up to 99%, which is perfect. This is the form, right? So I can easily log out and be done with it and log into it and never log into it again. I'm not going to use that username and password ever in life again, right? I just wanted to show you guys the process of that, of doing it online when you do decide to fill out your broker license or broker authority. FMCSA requires applicants to have access to the FMCSA portal to maintain their registration information and to monitor their safety information and activity. As part of submitting your application for registration, the individual needs to be assigned the company official role for the FMCSA portal. The company official administrator access sensitive company information. The company official assess to sensitive company information in the FMCSA portal or existing systems for their specific entity, okay? So let me hit next just to see what happens. All right, register for that. Should the company official role be assigned to the company contact John Q. Taxpayer? Yes. Let's go back to previous just to make sure we understand what that means though, right? So You can always go back to anything if you need to go back and make some changes, right? So, and since it's just one person applying for the authority, I can pretty much say, yeah, an individual needs to be assigned the company official role for the FMCSA portal. So what they're asking in the next section is, can the person who's applying for it be assigned the company official role for the FMCSA portal? Which is right here. Should the company official role be assigned to the company contact John Q. Taxpayer? Yes, because I'm the one who is applying for the authority. If you want somebody else to do it, like an agent or something, you'll say no, and they're going to ask you, well, who should that person be? Right? So we'll say next. And then now it's going to go through this process. I'm still at 99%. Please enter non-government email ID as user ID. So then non-government, that'll be my email, your email, right? And then the password, verify password, verify email, blah, 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 right? So I'm not going to proceed to that process. So please provide the following information for creating an account to the FMCSA portal to get back in, right? So it'll be the same thing. The info, the user ID is going to be the email. info@exodusdispatchingandtraining.com, the one I used as an example for this example, dispatching and training.com. And then whatever password that we had created, I'll just use the same one here. And just to see how far I can go without having to start the process of paying, right? And I'm going to use the same email for my user ID, obviously for my email. So if I do a forgot password or whatever, then we'll go from there, okay? And then method of contact obviously will be email, okay? And then hit next. So now, would you like to use the same security questions? You can, yes. When we first came into the URS system, which is where we're in right now, the Uniform Registration Service, Registration Wizard, yes, we can use the same one. That way I ain't got to type in any different ones. You know, what's your high school mascot? What's your mother's maiden name? What was your first car? And all this other stuff, right? We did that. So let's use the same ones, okay? And then the portal, right? Portal rules of behavior, right? Don't share sensitive information, spam, hacking, blah, 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 right? So, and then register for company official FMCSA portal account, and then go from here. John Q. Taxpayer, rules of behavior. I'll just put John Q. Taxpayer, because I want to see how far in this process example I can get before I have to leave out and acknowledge and pay, right? So basically by me filling in this information, I, John Q. Taxpayer, acknowledge that I have read and abide by the rules. I just put everything in saying that I did, I agree to it, and then hit next, right? Still at 99%, right? Register for it, okay? Register for company official FMCSA portal, right? So same thing. I acknowledge and read and agree to abide by the responsible document, basically all the responsible documents, making sure that they're legitimate and everything is cool. If you didn't see that, you can always go back to previous, right? Right here, portal roles and responsibility. First, there was portal rules of behavior. This is portal roles and responsibility. You're doing the same thing. You're just saying, filling in your name, saying that you've read it and understand it, right? John Q. Taxpayer. You've acknowledged it, read it, and understand it, okay? Taxpayer, as the example, CEO, and you acknowledge it, okay? 100%, we're done. Here is payment information. FMCSA determined that the applicant will operate as a property broker, general freight. To proceed with submitting the applicant's application, which I'm not going to do, an application fee of $300 is required. And then you hit next to start that process. How do you want to do that? Blah, blah, blah. FMCSA does not refund filing fees. Remember I said it's non-refundable, right? Your filing fees must be payable to the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration by electronic funding transfer or by an approved credit card, right? Electronic funding transfers must be from an account in a bank in the United States, okay? Fees are required for each type of registration requested. For example, if applicant wishes to be registered as both a motor carrier and broker, applicant may file a single application and make a single payment of $600. Why 600 instead of 300? Because you filed for two things on the same application, a motor carrier and a freight broker. Each operation classification is $300 one time. Since it says two in this example, 2 times 300 is 600, right? FTA guarantees, what is FTA? Federal Transit Administration, right? Grantee, FTA grantees is a motor carrier of passengers, right? So FTA grantees do not pay a fee to file an application for registration because that's passenger, right? FMCSA will not process an applicant's application until payment has been deducted from his or her banking or credit card account. So they want their money first before they process the application. Okay, creation of an FMCSA application does not guarantee access to the FMCSA portal. Just because you submit an application doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're going to be approved. They still have to process it and go through the process, right? So let's hit next. And then now it's going to ask for method of payment. Guess what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to pay it. So was that a thorough overview of applying for the operating authority as a freight broker? Right? And the explanation thereof of each section. People say, I don't go through this. So just wanted to make sure that you guys, because at some point, and this is a recording, you guys are going to be able to see it again. If you're members of the training, it's going to be in our members portal under our video. I'm going to take you to the members portal and show you where the video library is under more information. Video library is going to, and we group it by months, right? And the reason why March is the first month in the months is because when we started our online broker training, it was in the month of March. Okay, so we're in May, so it'll be in May. And if you notice these arrows here, so you can see more videos, and you just click which one you want for that particular month and that particular day. So today is May 10th, so it'll be the most recent. Oh yeah, the most recent date and year for that specific month will be the first video in that month. Okay, so our next video will be, we got the last video in the month of May for freight brokering was last year, May 21st, 2021. So May 10th, 2022 will be the first one you see after tonight. All right, so that's where it's located. Okay, in the location. All right. So that is the FMCSA website OP-1 form online through the FMCSA portal, the fmcsa.dot.gov website. I'm going to log out of here. Let's log out. And it's going to say if you log out, you're going to be left off where you were. Because I can easily log back in and it'll take me directly to that method of payment page because everything else has been completed and filled out. So it takes you to where you left off. We left off at the payment page. All right. So,
I have a question. What do you have to do to qualify for a surety bond?
So for a great question. Surety bond, let's go to, so that's a requirement too. So you have to have your OP-1 form. And here's the OP-1 form condensed and in the PDF format, right? But the surety bond is, there are certain requirements for the surety bond. So personal credit is one thing, right? You have to have a good personal credit score. Certain bond, it depends on the bond company that you're using. They have personal credit, obviously, because they're going to determine what your one-time payment amount is going to be for that $75,000 coverage, right? But in our content on this requirements page, application process for the broker authority, and then I should have an anchor that goes down. Matter of fact, I need to create an anchor to anchor right down to the areas that way I want to. Getting your surety bond. So there's two types of bond. There's a surety bond, which is the BMC 84, and there's a trust fund, which is the BMC 85. The trust fund is based off of, like if you have $75,000 in escrow, the surety bond is based off of credit. So right here, requirements for a surety bond. US citizen, that's the requirement. No bankruptcies in progress, that's the requirement, okay? No judgments or liens more than $1,500, which shows financial irresponsibility. That's a requirement. No past due child support. That's a requirement because that shows financial irresponsibility. If you're not keeping up with paying child support for your children that you had, what makes you think you're going to keep up with paying this bond, right? And then no open or prior surety claims. In other words, if you were a broker in the past and you're trying to apply for a broker again under another authority, another name and email and stuff, you can't have any past or open claims against your past bond that you had when you were a broker in the past. So those are the minimal requirements. And then whatever other requirements of the specific bond company that you are applying for your broker bond with, whatever additional requirements they have also. So these are the standard requirements of the bond, but then they may have other personal credit, right? Whatever your credit score is, right? If it's below a certain threshold that they say, okay, that you have to have this 680. If you have less than 680, your annual cost for that $75,000 maybe $1,000 may be higher than someone who has a 700 or a 750 credit score. So that may be an extra requirement in addition to the standard requirements, okay? Did that help? Did that help?
Yeah, it definitely did. Is there a certain bond company that you would recommend?
Of course. Let's go back to, this is a one-stop shop. This is a one-stop shop. So we have in our, here under tools, resources. So we have bond broker resources, broker tools, broker documents, broker services. I gotta remind myself to put an anchor. This is an anchor. When you click a top button, let's go back to the top. Because instead of me scrolling down that particular page that we were on, the requirements page, when you ask that question, what are the bond requirements? I can just hit this anchor button, broker services, and it does it for me, right? That way I don't have to get carpal tunnel by scrolling down on my mouse. So bond companies, we have several on here, but this one here, one called International Sureties with Jessica Palmera. You can reach out to her and get her requirements. Here is her bond application. And on it, if you notice, it has check the box if you have taken the Exodus Logistics Learning Center course. What she means is she should have, I need to call her and tell her to just put Freight Broker 101, because that's what she's talking about. But she has a one-page bond application. And here is what it looks like. You have access to this if you are a member now. You've enrolled in the Freight Broker training. All you have to do is go to the location under the tools and resources in our back office, click the broker services and scroll down here to her location. I'm going to copy and paste this here though, just for the sake of the chat right now for you guys, so you can have her information. And we have others, Propeller Bonds, we have Surety Bonds Direct, you know, different bond company, but, and then here's her application again. So here's a standard FMCSA bond application, her information, her contact information, and it adds certain things, standard information, applicant's legal name, full legal name, whether they're sole, ownership, partnership, application, LLC, and then business address, phone number, fax, email, country or state of corporation, email, and then type of bond, FMCSA, IRS number, They probably talk about the EIN, MC or FF number. FF is a freight forwarder number. Typically, if you're a broker, you're going to have an MC number. So you put that there, and then the amount, effective date, and then has application for this bond been declined by another company? Well, if you're doing this for the first time, then obviously you're going to say no, right? If prior surety, which you don't have, if this is the first time you've done a surety bond, you're applying for a broker surety bond, then you can skip this one as well, right here. If surety, give name and reason for change, right? If, in other words, if you had a prior surety bond, why are you applying for another surety bond? What was the name and why you reason for the change? So and when you call Jessica, you can actually go over this line by line with her if you're going to use her company as your bond service, right? Has the business or any other principal involved had any lawsuits or judgments against them? Yes or no? Failed in business or declared bankruptcy? Yes or no? So remember those requirements we read: bankruptcies, judgments or liens, and the requirements in the content of the website. They're asking the questions here. Ever been convicted of a felony? Just because you say yes to that one, you still may be able to get over on that, right? Because we had her on one of our Zoom live trainings and she was answering those questions. Ever had license suspended? Broker license. Because when you apply for a broker authority, you're going to get a broker license. If you apply for a motor carrier authority, you're going to get a motor carrier certificate. So license certificate. They both are the same. They're both saying that you have an operating authority. One just says you have a license to be a broker. One says you have a certificate to be a motor carrier. But they both mean that you have the authority to operate in whatever capacity that you applied for, broker or motor carrier, okay? So, ever had their license suspended, revoked, or denied? Ever been a party to a surety bond claim? Has anyone filed a claim against your bond? In other words, you were a broker, you did a bad deal with a carrier, you didn't pay them, you breached the broker carrier agreement in some way, shape, or form or fashion, you breached that contract, that carrier filed a claim with the FMCSA and your bond company against your broker bond. So has that ever happened to you? Yes or no? And then if yes to any of these, attach any detailed statements to support why that was. Because just because you say yes, doesn't necessarily mean that you will be denied the bond service, okay? And then remember, this is a one-page bond. Look how short this is. And then here you go here. Information for all owners to complete. Please include information for parent company. And you just put any other supporting information. If it's just you, then you just do the first box. Your name and title, social, who your spouse is, their social. Percentage of ownership, 100%. Years owned business, well, 0, you just started, right? Years of experience in this industry. You may have been a truck driver for 20 years, and then you decide to become a freight broker. So you put 20, because now you're in the industry, the transportation industry. So if what they mean when they say industry is transportation industry, and you were a carrier for 10, 15, 20 years, it applies to that. So you just put whatever number of years of experience you had in the industry before becoming a broker and applying for a bond, okay? And then all the other things. So, all right. So that's their application for international sureties, okay? That's their application. Monique.
Yes, sir. Do you know offhand, I have a couple of things. Do you know offhand if it, by experience in the transportation industry, does it have to be freight or somewhere else in transportation?
So I didn't hear that first part a little more. For do I know what now?
Do you know offhand if it has to be experience in freight, or does it include anything in transportation?
That'll be a great question, because that was ambiguous, that question there. So you would ask them when you're filling this out, what do you mean by a number of years of experience in this industry? Do you mean in the brokering industry? So if I'm applying for a broker for the very first time, that's not a fair question, because I got to put 0. I got to be honest. I've never been a broker, so I got to put 0. So do you mean in brokering, or do you mean in transportation, overall, in logistics? You know, so if you would decide to go with Jessica's international surety company, and you see this form, Ask that question, get clarity before you put that answer there. Make sure you get clarity with her. I'm thinking transportation, I'm thinking logistics, right? So then you put all the experience you have, and I'm sure she'll tell you because she wants you to fill out the form correctly.
Okay, and then another thing, actually, I got a couple more. So with I noticed on the application, it said 700 and something annually. So is that the maximum amount?
$75,000 for the bond.
No, it's I thought it said 700 and something dollars, like
on hers, 750. So this is the lowest rate that they can offer, $750, that one-time annual premium payment that you make to have a $75,000 coverage for the year for your bond. That's the lowest rate.
Okay,
and that's based off of person. So if you got a good credit score and you meet and exceed all of their other requirements, then you have the potential to pay as low as $750 for the whole year to have a $75,000 coverage for your bond. Okay. Other people who may have other things, it could be from $750 up to maybe thousands of dollars, depending on if your credit score is terrible, if you have other things going on with your situation when you apply for the bond. But that's the lowest rate that they offer, $750 for a.
Okay. And so we have to have this, we have to have the bond and everything within 30 days of the initial authority application, correct?
No, that 30 days was when you went to the URS website to fill out the application to apply for an authority, an operating authority, the OP-1 form, that's 30 days. But once you apply for the authority and you submit that $300, I believe there's a 90-day process for you to get everything else submitted to the FMCSA before your broker authority becomes active. Your bond, your BOC3, your UCR, you have that 90-day period. Then most people do it in half that time, 45 days or whatever. That's that. The 30 days that you saw was when we were filling out the actual OP-1 form on the FMCSA website.
Oh, okay. And then the last question about the surety bond. Now, if I have a surety bond through, I'm sure, I think it's another company. How does that work? Do I get a separate surety bond for transportation or for this freight broker because it's for, something else?
So if your surety bond it's not related, it's not another brokerage. Your surety bond is something different.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is something
so should I go through that same company?
You can if they offer a broker surety bond, if they offer that type of service, you can and utilize them since they, because you can do a bond for other things too, but if they provide a transportation bond for a brokerage, and since you're already using them for a bond for another thing, another business or whatever, if they offer that service, then you can utilize that. You can save money because you're using their service again. You may be able to get a discount.
Right. Okay. So, business credit don't count then, right? They definitely use your personal credit to determine.
Because you just started your brokerage company, you don't have business credit established. You just formed a business. So you don't even have business credit to even show. But you can start establishing trade lines right here in accounts on personal credit reports, right? But you just formed your business, your brokerage, so you don't have any credit to go off of. So that's why they're leaning on your personal credit to help you establish business credit with this bond application. That's one of the ways.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. We usually end this at 8 o'clock, which is 14 minutes. I got 3 questions here. Bluebeard.
Yes, sir. I spoke to you before, maybe a week or so ago about the freight agent thing. And just wanting to know, I've been doing some research and it seems like they're saying that freight brokers want freight agents to have a book of business prior to accepting them on. What does that mean? And how do you get a book of business when you're not attached to anyone?
Okay.
Good question.
Great question. So, Cherie.
Who was that? I'm like, who was that? Ask that question.
That was Bluebeard Logistics LLC. The nerve of him. So all the book of business is if you have shippers that you have contacted and established as customers and gotten those accounts. Let's say you work for a previous broker, right? And you had shippers that and accounts that you were managing or you had, but you left that brokerage for whatever reason. They wasn't paying you right. The agent broker agreement wasn't a fair one. So you say, I'm gonna take my business elsewhere, my book of business or my accounts or my customers that I acquired while I was under that bad broker, and I'm gonna come over to this broker. That's a book of business. The accounts that you've already established when you were under a previous brokerage. Let's say you, if you are trying to come under a brokerage as an agent and you've never worked for a previous broker, you don't have a book of business. So what do you do there? You have to establish accounts and customers. So you just don't meet, so you wouldn't meet the qualifications of a broker that you're trying to work for that requires you to have a book of business. Well, I don't have any, I'm brand new, I have no experience, I don't have a book of business or no accounts or customers that I have acquired in the past and manage those accounts and move that freight for them. I have none, I'm brand new, I don't have any experience, I wanna learn this. So you don't qualify, but there are brokers who say, hey, I'll take you whether you have a book of business or not, but here is my percentage matrix between the two of us. If you come to my brokerage and you're brand new and you have no book of business, but you have some customer service, some call center and sales experience, I'll be willing to work with you and train you in my processes and my systems so that you know how I manage my brokerage, and my commission split with you will be 50-50 or 60-40, 60% to you, the agent, 40% to me, or 50-50. Commission split means that every load that we tender, that we get from a shipper, that we tender and we move that load, whatever that profit margin is, let's say we move a load and the load paid $5,000 and we made a profit of, let's say, I don't know, 20, let's say we made $1,000 off of that $5,000, right? We got a $5,000 load tender, we paid the carrier $4,000 to move it. So we made we made $1,000. Of that $1,000 profit margin, if you have no experience, you get either 60-40 or 50-50. We may split it 50-50, the broker gets 500, the carrier gets 500, or the agent, I'm sorry, or if it's 60-40, 60 goes to the agent, 600, and 400 goes to the broker. That's what I mean by commission split, whatever the profit margin is, the difference in what you paid the carrier and what the shipper paid you is the profit to the broker. And if you have an agent with you, then that's working that and managing that account. It also depends on how much responsibility that you are going to give the agent. Are you just giving them the responsibility of acquiring the customers and then you manage the load process, the movement process, the tendering of that freight from pickup of the shipper and delivery to the receiver? Or are you training the agent in such a way that they will you'll eventually be able to take off the training wheels and let them manage their own accounts that they have acquired while they're under your brokerage? That may take time and trust, right? Because you can't just give an agent responsibility of accounts they acquire when they brand new come into your company. They have no idea how to run it through the system, TMS system, move the load, gets the carriers, do the broker carrier agreement, all that stuff. You have to train them. So while you're doing that, the commission split should be 50-50. At least that agent is getting something because they didn't come with a book of business, but they came with sales, customer service, call center experience. So they know how to talk to people. They know how to acquire the accounts because you've trained them. Okay.
All right. And you also mentioned that you had some people affiliated with the program that might be interested in taking someone on. So
of course.
What would be the next steps for me? How can I get in touch?
Okay, here it is right here. Who in here is a freight broker that's willing to take on agents to help you acquire customers in your freight brokerage? Unmute yourself and introduce yourself. See how easy that was?
Me.
There you go. Ding, 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 ding. Look, this is a network. When I say I'm not playing, right? Look, we have brokers in here who are willing. These brokers have systems in place Now, when you connect, all I do is make the connection. It's up to you, the potential agent, to sell yourself to the potential broker that you're going to work up under. All I do is put you two together. I have nothing to do. I don't want a dime for that, right? So
Yeah.
just connect. All you got to do now is connect with Bridget, and you guys have that conversation. I'm sure Bridget is putting systems in place to protect her brokerage and have qualifiers for the agents, especially if whether or not they have experience or not, right? If they come from former brokers and they have a book of business, or they come from brokers and they don't have a book of business. You can come from a broker, a former brokerage, and don't have a book of business, but you still understand the process of how loads were tendered because you saw them when you were under the broker. Or you haven't worked for a brokerage, you don't have a book of business, but you may have some sales, customer service, call center experience, you good at talking with people. You see what I'm saying? So have that conversation. I make the connection. You guys have the conversation and determine which way you want to go.
Okay, is that Miss Brittany? This is Miss Bridget.
Bridget. Yeah,
Bridget.
type your names and contact information in the chat. You guys grab it either privately or however, make the connection. Join we have a private Facebook Freight Broker 101 members only group. That's the best way outside of the live Zoom trainings. That's the best way to connect, right? So you guys connect that way.
Thank you so much.
All righty. Next is Jaleesa. So I'll entertain two more. So we got 7 minutes. I'll entertain Jaleesa F and Mimi Coleman. That'll be it for this evening, okay? Jaleesa.
Yes, hi. I have a question regarding what we spoke about earlier when you're scaling your business. So right now I just started like my dispatching service, and in the future I'm looking to become a broker. So are you saying that we are going to have to set up a different LLC, even though like my dispatching service, it's like Far Stretch Logistics, it have logistics in it already. So when I'm finally ready to start the brokering, am I going to have to set up a different LLC to start that brokering?
I'm not saying that you're going to have to. I'm just suggesting it would be a good idea to keep them separate. You can most certainly, it's your choice, it's your company. You can most certainly keep them together and put I personally wouldn't do a dispatching and then put a brokerage under it, because a brokerage, as far as hierarchy, brokerages supersede dispatching companies. But if you decide to do that, you keep your dispatching company and you put a DBA and then put a freight brokerage under, that's completely your decision. I'm just saying, for me, I would separate, keep the entity separate.
So like, do I have to like change the name and everything when it comes to the brokering part?
So what's the name of your dispatching one again?
Far Stretch Logistics.
Far Stretch Logistics. So your brokerage will be also called Far Stretch Logistics or Far Stretch Freight Brokerage or Far Stretch Brokerage, or, something to that effect.
Okay, and it will have like 2 different EINs as well?
If you decide to keep them separate, yes.
Separately, yeah.
If you do a DBA, then the DBA, the brokerage under the dispatching parent company, it would be under the same entity, because you just did an alias or a doing business as, right?
Okay, so I like, as you advise, I would keep it separately. So, okay, I got it. I understand now. Thank you.
Okay, all right. And I see other people are putting their information in there. Are Donald, are you putting your information in there for purposes of potential agents? And Nicole as well, or just in general? Like Nicole at rideoutenterprise.com and DC Donald at oneplusus.com. You guys are putting your information in. Yes, agent. Okay, so we got more brokers who are putting their information out for the potentially. Save the chat, guys. You know how to save your chat, right? You just go to the 3 dots on the bottom next to the smiley face, click that and save it. And then last question, we got 4 minutes. Last question is for Mimi, Ms. Coleman. You got your hand raised. Go ahead.
To piggyback off of what she said, I'm not sure if you already answered this, but why would you want to have separate entities between the dispatch company and the brokerage?
Insurance, tax purposes, financial responsibilities. Because brokers, there's more risks for liability issues with a brokerage than there is with a dispatching company. Okay, you got your
Okay,
bond,
and then what is,
your bond. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I think I answered it for you.
Yeah, you did. I was just trying to hurry up because I know you said you only had 4 minutes, but what is the income potential for a freight brokerage?
Oh, great question. It depends on how many customers you get. I'm gonna mute you because there was an echo on your side, but it depends. The income potential depends. It varies. That's a hard question to answer because it depends on how many customers you get and the value of the freight that you're moving for that customer and the willingness of paying a fair rate to the carrier to move that freight in order for you to make a profit margin from the freight that you got from the shipper. And whatever your profit margin is, like 20%, 15. Most brokers start with between 15 and 20% if you're new. What that means is, let's say you get a tender or a contract from a customer, a shipper, for let's use the $5,000 tender, a load picking up from A going to B, and the shipper's paying $5,000 for you to broker that freight. They can care less how you get it there. They're only going to give you $5,000. You're going to take 20% of that for your brokering services. 20% of 5,000 is $1,000. So you got 4,000 to play with. And you're going to find a carrier who's willing to move that freight for, you're not going to post it for $4,000. You probably post it for like $3,500 because you want to give yourself as a broker negotiating wiggle room because you got $4,000 cap to deal with. So you may post it for 35. As long as that 35 is a fair spot market rate that's competitive with what's already posted on the load board by other brokers and the industry for that same lane that freight is running in. Let's say it's picking up in Norfolk, Virginia, going to Atlanta, Georgia for a dry van, and it's paying $3,300, $34. So you posted it for $34, $35, maybe $35.50 in order to entice a carrier to grab it. So as long as your rates are fair market spot rates and competitive, you have the potential for a carrier to call you and move that. So the potential, the earnings for a broker is high. The number of shippers you got, the volume of loads you're moving for that shipper, and the fair rates that you're paying to the carriers. Remember, everything falls on the carrier. It's important. You make no money as a broker or a dispatcher if you don't have a carrier that's willing to move the loads for your customer. It's not going to happen. You can't ever make money. That's why you got to be as fair as possible to the truck drivers. Most brokers we know out here now are kind of greedy. Their spot market rates are so crazy. It's just ridiculous. So we try to make sure that our philosophy is pay the carrier. You can't make your money unless you pay the carrier to move that load. You're not going to invoice. You can't invoice your shipper for that amount for that tender unless your carrier is willing to move that load and give you that BOL or that POD from the completion of moving that load so that you can invoice the shipper to get paid, right? Or through your factory company, but that comes later on. But yeah, so the number is, there's several factors to answer your question. There's several factors involved in broker payment. Even dispatchers get paid pretty good too. They got a number of carriers, they find good paying freight, and those carriers are satisfied. But from a broker's perspective, you have to have good shippers who's giving you good freight, volume of freight, paying good tenders to you, and you have to have good carriers that's moving that tenders for a fair value, and you make a fair percentage off that. You want to be as fair as possible. The more you do that, the more you can scale and grow your brokerage and get more shippers and get more carriers to move your freight. You build your what's called your network, your shipper network, your carrier network, and then now you're starting to grow and make money. So the more you do it, the more fair you are, the more money you can make, your potential. So I would say, I know brokers I know one that's 400,000 annually, right? I know one that's a millionaire. So just to give you a perspective, but they've been doing it for, I would say, what's Mike, 10 plus years. So you have to build over time, but it starts with one shipper at a time. You got to, once you establish that one shipper foundational, honest, straightforward, straight to the point type of relationship, and you establish your foundation, right? And the same thing on the carrier side with the network of carriers. and you do it honestly and straightforward, and people see that you're a straight shooter and they want to deal with you, you just take that whole concept, that foundational concept, and you scale that over and over and over again. Don't worry about the money. The money will come. If you do it the right way, the money's going to come. I guarantee you that. The money will come, but do it the right way with your customers and your carriers. Do it the right way. The money will come all the time. Be fair. If you get to a point where you're greedy, word spreads quickly, people are not going to work with you as a broker, and your broker is going to shut down because you're not going to be able to satisfy your shipper by not moving freight, because carriers are not going to want to deal with you because you're not fair, right? So if you do it right the first time and all the time, then your income and earning potential will always be there. So just do it right the first time. Right?
Okay, cool. And then last question, is it difficult, or what am I trying to say? Is it difficult to qualify to broker liquids and gases? I don't know if you didn't check that.
I wouldn't say it's difficult. The reason why I didn't check it is because you guys are new brokers. So you want to start off, you want to make your entry point into this broker space easier. You can do that, but there's a lot of more requirements for that, right? So why not start off easy first, get the process of brokering down first, and then go into those niche or niche areas later on, hazmat, tanker, intermodal areas afterwards, right? But get the general freight stuff down first, get the process and the workflow of brokering down first before you go to those specific niche areas, right?
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
All right. All right, guys. Was the information good for you guys this evening?
Yes, it was.
Okay, just wanted to go through.
Yes.
Want to go through the beginning processes of freight brokering.
Excellent as always.
Thank you, sir. And you guys have access to this main menu. This is a self-paced learning here. Our trainings are Tuesdays and Fridays. So we have another training Friday. It's more advanced on Friday. We're going to have Jared and his team, Jared and Nate from eCarrier Check, showing you how to navigate and do things as a broker here. And there's a website I want to show you guys before we get off here, by the way, just to give you an idea of what intermodal and containers and all that stuff. It's called Marine Time. Mr. Nelson, if you're still on here, I know you're probably familiar with this. marinetime.com, right? I have an account with them. I was just looking at intermodal stuff, right? And shipping containers in real time all over the world, right? Don't get scared when you see this. This is just, I'm just introducing you guys to just a microcosm, a little small things. But when you get it really into the supply chain and logistics and how freight moves from suppliers to the customer and what's all involved in that process, you're going to be saying, wow, there's a lot more to this than I thought, right? So the supply chain, just give my notes here. So, you know, the supply chain involves the supplier, procurement of the freight or procurement of the goods, manufacturing, the products, inventory, distribution, logistics, retail, and the customer. We are in the logistics link in the supply chain, right? There are other links in the supply chain. I just read them off. Supplier, procurement, manufacturer, product, inventory, distribution, logistics, retail, and customer, right? Here, on this website, am I logged in? Yeah, I'm logged in. So let me open this up real quick and give you an idea of how many containers, right, are out here on the water, right? So I'm going to uncheck some of these boxes. You guys can see my screen, right? So I'm going to uncheck some of these to just show you the cargo vessels. I'm not going to show you tankers, passenger vessels, or anything like that. I'm just going to show you cargo vessels alone in real time all over the world. Look at all these cargo containers with cargo ships, I should say, with containers on them. And this is off the coast of Africa. Here is the United States. Let me blow this up. So you guys wondering where's all the freight at? Well, it's waiting to come into the ports to get offloaded on the track, because this is where intermodal comes in. The word intermodal means you're transferring from one mode of transportation to another, whether it's from air, rail, or cargo ships to another, which is the trucks, to get moved and shipped to the locations all over the country, right? So this is one mode, and it's going to be intermodally moved to another mode. That's what intermodal means, right? From the cargo ships to, or rail cars in some instances to the trailers, the chassis trailers. That's why they get transloaded from the cargo. And Cherie, you probably need to hear this too. The cargo
yes,
ships
Lord.
yeah, from the cargo ships to the chassis of the trailers and shipped to your warehouse, Cherie, to be offloaded and cross-docked to LTL company. You may have 26 pallets on one container that got shipped to your warehouse, and then on those 26 pallets of that container, 13 of those gets shipped to one LTL like Fmcsa, and another to another LTL company like RTL carriers, right? So one container can have freight going to different LTLs to go to different distribution centers. That's how logistics and a supply chain kind of work, right? Because that freight is destined to points unknown all over the country. And you as a warehouse person, you're going to have to distribute that freight based off of the manifest you're going to receive when you start doing that, Cherie. So, and be able to distribute that when you get into contracts with those LTL companies or however, or you're storing the freight until later dates, right?
Right. Okay.
And you're
yes,
using,
that is correct.
Right, and you got racks in your warehouse. You're storing those pallets, and you should have scanned that freight in, put them on those racks in certain locations based off of where they're going, things of that nature, right? So, just want to give you guys a glimpse of the supply chain world and seeing what's going on in the world. These green dots you're seeing, these are cargo ships. See that cargo vessel position received? This is satellite imaging. Okay. These are longitude, latitude coordinates. These are cargo ships. This is the North Atlantic right here, North Atlantic Ocean. This is the number one port on the East Coast now is the Port of Virginia. And that happened about a month ago. It got determined, right? Then of course you got all these other ports, Charleston, Jacksonville, Miami, Port of Manatee, all these, but this on the East Coast, the number one is my location, the Port of Virginia. So just giving you guys a glimpse of the logistics world, the supply chain world, and so how does that relate to broker? What do a broker come in at, right? Well, at some point, you're going to touch this freight. You may not touch it on the cargo ship world, but Cherie is going to be dealing with this when it comes to the port. She's going to be dealing with coming to her warehouse. But you as a broker, general freight, you may deal with it when it gets to the shipper's location. Once it gets loaded onto a chassis of a trailer, of a truck from the cargo ship, and it gets shipped to a distribution center, then you may take it from there as a broker and get in a relationship with that distribution center shipper to ship it to their wholesale customers, right? So at some point in the supply chain, you figure out where you're going to be brokering at, right? Cherie is catching it from the time it gets off the ships or the rail cars, or maybe even air freight that gets come in from Forward Air and gets picked up at the airports, at the airport cargo stations at the airports. So, just giving you guys a glimpse of that and just showing you that there's a whole lot in this supply chain that you guys do not know about, right? But these are real cargo ships all over the world. I can minimize this. Look at this. Look at that. Look at this concentration. All these are cargo ships, guys. Okay.
What's the cost for this? What's the cost for this subscription?
Of what? This right here? I may put this marine traffic in our members portal and I gotta see if my user license will let you guys log into it. I'm just testing this right now, but I gotta let you guys see it. But the question becomes, as new brokers, even using this, how will this benefit you? Or does it even benefit you? Just having the knowledge of it is fine, but if it doesn't benefit you right now, there's no point in even using it, right? But just know that freight is out here, right? So, and the rates are getting ready to go up because there's a driver shortage. Some carriers are even getting out of their trucks because they feel they're not being paid enough and the fuel is so high and it's not offsetting with the higher pay to the carriers. But at some point, the shippers are going to be forced to raise the rates because you see, if you see all these green dots, this is the reason why the shipper is going to be forced to make a higher rate, because all this freight at some point has to be delivered to the customers that ordered this stuff. You know, people ordered these goods, right? So the shipper has a responsibility to deliver, or the shipper's not going to be in business. So if they got a shortage of carriers, then they're forced to raise the rates in order to pay for this stuff to be delivered. So, okay. So just give you guys a glimpse of the supply chain world, and logistics is just one chain in the supply, one link, I should say, in the supply chain. Okay, just giving you a glimpse of that. All right, so all you new people, welcome. Hopefully I didn't scare you too much with that little bit of information, but I won't share anything with you without explaining to you what it is and how to understand it. That's one thing I don't do. So I just don't show you stuff and say, okay, good luck. That's not going to happen ever. So, but welcome all the new members to Freight Broker 101 training for beginners. You guys just focus on understanding the basics of freight brokering, establishing your company, and getting your foundation set up. All this other advanced stuff will come later on. I should have showed this Friday because Friday is more of our intermediate advanced class, but I just wanted to give you guys a glimpse of the world, the transportation and the logistical. It's actually not transportation, it's actually the logistics world, right? Transportation is just a microcosm of it because you got warehousing, you got freight forwarding, you got all these other things, right? So, okay.
Good information. What about the cold storage?
Say again?
Good information, Charles, as always. I was looking and tapping into the cold storage.
Ooh, stay away from that. Don't do it.
Okay.
So, because cold storage, then you're dealing with reefers, then you're dealing with the more cold storage and reefers, refrigerated hauling you're dealing with, there's a higher risk of claims because of spoilage and all these other things, right? I know there's money. I know there's a lot of money in it, and Mr. Nelson can kind of speak to this a little bit as well. If he's still on here, I don't know if Mr. Nelson is still on here.
Can you hear me, Charles?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Yeah, I mean, cold storage is good to a certain degree. I guess where we deal with spoilage more than anything else in the cold food transportation is with produce. So you have to understand and remember that there's all types of things that are moved and distributed in warehouse and cold storages. Produce is the biggest thing that you have to worry about as far as spoilage. I mean, because you've got manufacturers that produce things that do go in the cold storage shelves in your local grocers that can be moved without a problem. You just have to be careful when it comes to produce, because produce will spoil. Yeah. And then as far as you were talking about the ships, there's about 55,000 merchant ships throughout the world, and about 15,000 of those ships are dedicated and committed to cargo transportation from various countries in and out of the United States.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So there's a whole lot of information that you guys are unaware of, but that's fine. You don't have to be aware because you're brokering from within. You may not be dealing with the ports, and you may not be dealing with intermodal at this. I know Cherie has a little bit of interest in that because she has warehouses now, and she's going to be probably contracting with, companies that need storage, maybe some land to store containers for offloading later or things like that. So Cherie has probably a little bit more vested interest in understanding it. But for you new brokers, you're working from within, right? So you're working from within the country. You're probably dealing with manufacturers and distributors, maybe even farmers, for raw materials, and then shipping inbound and outbound freight. their inbound materials to manufacture to make their outbound merchandise. So you may be dealing with that. And that's later. We can talk about that Friday, different strategy. We can go into that Friday, strategies and stuff.
You say Cherie is considering warehousing freight?
She has 2 warehouses.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now,
Inbox me. I would love to speak to you and so forth, but yes, sir. I got 2 warehouses and I got like 17 acres. Yeah.
Yeah, she has a 10,000 square foot, 10,000 square foot and a 44,000 square foot warehouse.
Okay. You understand the distribution laws as far as out of warehouse and things too, right? You understand the tax structure that comes with moving freight in and out of warehouses? If not, you really need to find you someone to educate you on that, because I mean, even with you having, say for instance, you have a shipper that's rented space from you. Now it's more or less that shipper's responsibility, but yet again at the same time, you have to factor that into the cost of what you're going to charge that shipper, because product coming in and out of a door is taxed. I don't know whether or not you knew that or not, whether it's taxed individually by the package, the container, or by the pallet, and figuring in the prices to lease that property to your shipper. You have to understand that those taxes are going to have to be paid, because you as a property owner.
And what you mentioned it to me, yes, sir.
Right, because you as a property owner, you have a threshold tax on every door that you have on those warehouses.
Yeah. So now, and then you're getting into, I think UCC is involved in all that stuff too, right? Uniform Commercial Code and all these other things.
Right, and OSHA and the whole 9 yards,
Yeah,
so,
OSHA. Yeah, OSHA got to deal with OSHA. You got to deal with risk of injury in the warehouse when you got workers there, slipping and falling, all types of stuff. So we may need to have that conversation directly with Cherie.
Right. Okay. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, if you don't mind, if you could offline, I don't know how you can get my phone number or anything like that, because I'm riding, but I appreciate it.
My information's in Charles's back office, so you can just send me an email and I'll respond to it.
Yeah, so right here under ELLC service, I'll copy and paste it in the chat right now. Under ELLC services, brokers, Mr. Nelson's a broker, James Nelson, Switchback GY6 Logistics. I'll copy all of this and paste it in the chat for you either. I can just do it generally. So, and then that way. So sometimes in business, it's not what you know, it's who you know, right? So networking is important. That's why I like to network with one another. Just like when the young person asks about working as an agent under a broker, do you have anybody? And I just say, okay, who in here is a broker who's looking for an agent, right? That was that simple. And there was no, right? So our job in this world, my job, and I'm sure Mr. Nelson shares his philosophy, is to help each other, help one another, uplift, right? So that's the goal. So I'm useless and it's pointless for me to have all this knowledge and information if I'm not transferring it and sharing it with people so that they can benefit just as much. I can't take this with me when I die. Can't take it with me, right? So, all right, guys, Friday is our next one this week. We have live Zoom trainings now every second and fourth week of each month. And we started that last month in April. So this week is Tuesday and Friday. So Tuesday is the 10th. The next one is Friday the 13th at 6 p.m. And then afterwards in the month of May, it'll be the fourth week, which is the 24th, that Tuesday, and the 27th, that Friday. And I'll continuously announce that so you guys will know. Outside of that, you guys always have access to this back office. If you're an ongoing member, you have access to all the information here. And then obviously you can reach us, at our contact information and go from there. Text, I always get my number out. I'm not hiding from anyone. So I get my number out. I'm very transparent. So, okay. So 8:21, I think that's good enough for tonight. We'll go ahead and I'll get this recording starting to convert it and get it uploaded to the channel and go from there. Okay. So, all right, guys, I'll see you Friday. Thanks for you're welcome, Cherie. Thanks for
thank you so much.
Hopefully this hopefully this information was a springboard for you guys, at least the basics, right? As far as going through that form online, the FMCSA website, to start the process of being a broker, right? And we haven't even gotten into strategies on talking to shippers, what to say, what if you get rejected, and all this other stuff, right? This is an ongoing program, so we'll go over that, repeat it, rehash it to the point you get a shipper, and then after you get a shipper, well, how do you quote? How do you do this? What is this? What is that? We go into all of that stuff. So, you know, you're in the right place. So just enjoy the ride. Okay. So, all right, guys, I will see you guys on Friday. And by the way, Friday, to get into this Zoom training, you do the exact same thing you did. You go to the website, use the same Zoom link, meeting ID and passcode. It's not going to change. Okay. So see you guys on Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern. All right. Have a good night, everyone.